So I thought I'd take the opportunity to continue with our Mark commentary, session 39. In chapter 10, we already covered the indissolubility of marriage. And we also saw Jesus and the children, the rich man, often called young man, and then the danger of riches, and we're basically now uh, approaching the third announcement of the Passion. And it's interesting to look at this text. They were on the way. I don't know why the English Standard talks about the road. I mean, way being such a classic term for Christianity, and I think characterizes this gospel, right? Hodo in Greek. Let's see what the Latin is going to have in via, so that's going to be good. And so they're going up, and if you were to look at the Greek, you would see that they were ethabunto, they were amazed. Those who were behind Jesus and those who followed were ephobunto. So you have sort of a rhyme there. And he again takes the 12 and tells them, this is considered the third announcement of the Passion. We are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered to the chief priests and the scribes, the leaders. They will condemn him to death and deliver him over to the Gentiles. They will mock him and spit on him and flog him and kill him. And after 3 days, he will rise. This is similar to what Luke does in 9:51, which is that as his days were approaching to be fulfilled of his assumption, that's what the Greek says, analempseos. So assumption, being taken up, is applied to Jesus in the New Testament. We Catholics apply it to the Virgin Mary primarily. We talk about his ascension, which is when he goes back to the Father. He hardened or strengthened his face to go to Jerusalem. And this is made firm, his face, etc. It's very similar to the 70 of Isaiah 50, verse 7, in the third Song of the Suffering Servant. So you have this already, foreboding, and those who are with Jesus are afraid and amazed at what's in store. Many scholars have described the Gospel of Mark as a passion account followed by a long, or preceded by a long introduction. So you have this verse there. And then, of course, amazingly enough, speaking of an amazement, you have two of his closest followers, disciples, who already perhaps had been arguing in chapter 9 who was the greatest. And Jesus takes a little child as the example of what you have to do to be great. You have to be the last of all and the servant of all, the least important. That humility will make you great in the kingdom. Something that is very difficult to understand these days. And so you have the James and John, the sons of Zebedee, ask Jesus for a favor. And the favor is to sit at his right and left in his glory. This is very interesting. So this is the original account in Mark, by Mark, Whether, these were the exact words used, I would tend to doubt. If we see the Matthean version, chapter 20, it makes a lot more sense for these Jewish followers of Jesus, the Messiah, to be asking to sit at his right and left in his kingdom, not glory. So I think this is an instance of Mark's allergy to making Jesus politically explicitly relevant. His political relevance goes without saying. He was crucified, a Roman penalty for lower class non-citizens, especially guilty of political offenses or convicted as such, or removed from the scene because of a political threat, real or perceived. In the Gospel of John, you've got a Roman cohorts, typically 600 men, could go down to 400, be present at the arrest of Jesus. So that, and in John 2, you have this saying in the Sanhedrin, it is better for one man to die for the people than for the Romans to come and destroy our holy place, which in fact they will do 40 years later in the Jewish uprising in 66 that results in the destruction of the temple in the year 70. But if you looked at the Matthean version of this, it's not the sons of Zebedee, but the mother, the mother of the sons of Zebedee, the Jewish mother, I guess, one to be a dentist, the other a doctor, or something like that. So all these texts have been tweaked, and of course they're in Greek. They're not going to be in Aramaic, like with a tape recorder. But the point being that the disciples really are against his suffering. Peter, we already saw that with Peter, who recognizes Jesus as Messiah in chapter 8. And here these guys are following Jesus. Yes, they think he's the Messiah, but the Messiah triumphant, smashing the heads of enemies, and then able to distribute choice positions in the Messianic kingdom, which is not what Jesus is going to be doing. And so Jesus, on the other hand, proposes that they drink the cup that he's offering and be baptized with the baptism that he is going to suffer. You have instances of this cup of Yahweh. One of my students years ago said, "Isn't a cup a good thing?" Well, a cup can be a good thing, a cup of salvation, etc. But it can also be a very bad thing. I'm looking at Jeremiah 25:15, and it is the vision of the cup of wine that Jeremiah saw regarding the Goyim nations, pagan nations, non-Israel. Take this cup full of wine of fury and make all the pagan nations drink. You also have Psalm 75:9, sharing with you some of the annotations in my Bible from many years. There is a cup in the hand of Yahweh and a drugged wine, which is full of drink, and it'll be, drunk to the dregs, and all the wicked of the earth shall drink it. And also in Psalm 66:12, you have this phrase, "You tried us, O God, you purged us as silver is purged. You caught us in the net. You put some sort of a belt around our loins. You let just anyone trample on our head. We went through fire and water, but you drew us out so that we could have a respite, a breathing pause or something. So these two say that they are willing and ready to be baptized and to drink the cup. But Jesus says to them that you will indeed drink it, but to have positions in the kingdom or at my right and left is not for me to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared. Then, of course, the others are indignant at this comeuppmanship or whatever, uppityness of these two favorite disciples. And Jesus says that the rulers of the Goyim, of the nations, lorded over them. So this is a strong form of the verb to lord, katakirio. And it's going to be used in First Peter. I said that at one point, for the leaders of the Christian flock. And when the chief shepherd comes, then he will give everyone. But the shepherds or pastors of the flock are not to lord it over them and make their weight felt. It shall not be so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant, your deacon, and whoever would be first among you must be the slave of all. You have a sort of a step parallelism there from deacon to slave, or from servant to slave. For the Son of Man did not come to be deaconed to or served, but to serve and to give his soul or life as lutron for the many, in place of the many, or for the many. So here you have, I think, a classic servant of Yahweh reference. The Son of Man is here linked to the servant of Yahweh, as it is only done, I would say, indirectly in First Enoch. In First Enoch, there is a combination redeemer figure, chosen one of Isaiah, but not necessarily suffering servants. And then the Messiah, and then the Son of Man in the Daniel 7 sense, great power, etc. Not Son of Man humility. That does not exist anymore. Son of Man is a higher title than Son of God. And again, I mentioned Daniel Boyar in the Jewish Gospels for a lot of succinct 100-page discussion of that. And the lutron would be a singular form of lutra, which would be the kopher or toll tax required to enter the Holy Land in Exodus 30. So you have a reference here to this temple tax that was to be paid only in Tyrian shekels of purer silver. And that's what the 13 tables of the money changers allowed in the temple during Passover time were for, to change the money of travelers and others into the appropriate coinage acceptable by the temple. And so you have this idea that to enter the Holy Land, you need to pay a toll tax. You can look at Exodus 30 for that. And this entry into the Holy Land is tantamount to redemption, end of Jubilee, end of slavery, end of the curses, salvation, redemption. It occurs in Yom Kippur, the Jubilee does, Leviticus 25. So you also have universal forgiveness of sins. So it's an all-out sort of bankruptcy declaration where you're clean slate all around, money and ethics and sin-wise. And this is what this Son of Man has come to do. For many, this in Hebrew, rabim, is a classic buzzword, whatever you want to call it, of the fourth servant song, Isaiah 52:13 to Isaiah 53:12. It's mentioned 5 times, Rabim. One of the times has to be translated the great. He will divide the spoils with the great. But the other times is for the many. This will be repeated in the Last Supper. This is the blood of the covenant being poured for many. So we ran out of time. We'll have to maybe just tie this up a little bit next time.